want to talk a little bit about the tornado outbreak that happened in Maryland early in the week of June 3rd. The outbreak was historic by any standard for the state of Maryland. The reports of 16 tornadoes, probably ranking among the most active days on record. A single day, 16 tornadoes up in Maryland. I'm sure you've heard about it on the news. It was featured on nightly news and other national news broadcasts as well the day after that evening or an afternoon event of those tornadoes. This story I shared on my Facebook feed. By the way, you can always find my public Facebook feed, just Jim Duncan is my account there. So I post a lot of weather stuff and some other stuff as well. But here's the story from this is from the Capital Weather Gang, the Washington Post, and this was published on let's see, June 6th. The event happened on June 5th, the evening of June 5th, and there's video there. You can see somebody shot at a tornado. That was again, a little video clip just telling about firsthand experience. And by the way, and I'll show a comment in a second from my friend and colleague Kurt Autry, who was up in that area when the tornadoes were happening. But the article in brief says this, and again, pay no attention if any of these pop-up ads kind of disrupt the flow of the messaging here. But numerous tornadoes tore through Maryland on Wednesday evening, leaving behind a trail of destruction, several injuries. It was the most significant tornado outbreak in the state in years. And then goes on to say, although multiple rotating thunderstorms with supercells produced twisters across many locations in Maryland, the one that swept across Montgomery, Howard, and Baltimore counties was particularly prolific tornado producer. And so it did just kind of blow up. There was a alert. There was a convective outlook for severe thunderstorms up there. But the fact that there could be tornadoes was considered a small risk at best, but there were, again, multiple tornadoes up there. The article was on to say the supercell produced tornadoes near those areas. Eyewitness footage showed some of the twisters were quite large and more typical of what's commonly seen in the plains and the southern United States. National Weather Service initially received 16 tornado reports from Maryland, 1 from Loudoun County, 4 from eastern West Virginia. After surveying the storm damage Thursday, the Weather Service confirmed at least 7 separate tornadoes touched down. 7 separate tornadoes, which is rather remarkable for one day up in this part of the Mid-Atlantic especially. There does seem to be a frequency of tornadoes up there in Maryland, more so than other parts of the Mid-Atlantic, and I think it's because of the configuration where they are, proximity to the mountains and the water of the Chesapeake Bay and such, and the conflicting air masses that tend to happen in that small, relatively small geographic distance. It goes on to say, of the 7 confirmed tornadoes, 5 were EF1s, and on the enhanced Vegeta scale, which we've talked about, of course, before in this class. And there you can see peak winds were in the 100-mile-per-hour range with some of the EF1s. And there's the map there of where they were. It came somewhat as a surprise, that swarm of tornadoes, although the Weather Service Forecast Office serving the D.C. area mentioned a tornado or two were possible in their discussion. The Storm Prediction Center, based in Norman, Oklahoma, never issued a severe thunderstorm or tornado watch, which was unusual. They usually are all pretty aggressive with those. It only placed the area in a level 1 out of 5 marginal risk for severe storms. So it just goes to show you that these severe events can be sneaky dangerous, okay? They don't have to be accompanied by those intense convective outlooks or thunderstorm watches or tornado watches. They can kind of sneak in. And that's why in the communication of weather that I emphasize in this class, people need to be aware. If there's a chance, even if there's only a small risk or even no risk at all, to have your notification setting on your apps and weather apps that you would get notified if there are any severe thunderstorm warnings or tornado warnings. The elements that came together, sometimes there are events of weather that have a low probability of happening but have a high impact when they do. Such was the case Wednesday. The D.C.-Baltimore area was in a tiny area where the necessary tornado-producing elements converged for a short window. What ensued was kind of a micro-outbreak that was very difficult to forecast. And there's the map, kind of a little meso map, small-scale map showing frontal boundary draped over the area. Here it says a key feature that helped the supercell storms form was a warm front that was slowly tracking northward across the region. Anytime there's a warm front, when it's warm and humid, You get upper level energy superimposed on top of that. There can be some severe weather. So it stalled along the Mason-Dixon line, and it drew very humid, warm, and unstable air into the area. And then there was some sun breaks in the clouds led to the heating of the atmosphere and unstable air. Okay, and then there were rotating storms as well. So anyway, I don't want to belabor the point on this article, but that was the article written by Capital Weather Gang. I did mention earlier, my friend Kurt Autry made a comment how he was up there, and he said, I was at Nats Park. He loves going to the baseball games. This was going on all around me, and I had no clue until I got back to Richmond what had happened. So anyway, that was first-hand experience by Kurt, who was up there when all of this was going down up there in Northern Virginia and the D.C. area and into Maryland. That's it for this post, a very interesting severe weather event that happened just recently.